Katie Couric trolling Meghan with the dishwasher soap story, Brooke Shields' disgusted reaction to the Duchess of Sussex's word salad, the worst acting that I have seen in a long time, and taking a look at Catherine finally releasing a picture that has some strange details. All this and more on today's show. Hello and welcome back, my Royal Rogues. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Royal Rogue. And as you might already know, Meghan attended the South by Southwest panel on women's representation. And I watched the whole thing twice, so you don't have to. And I don't mind taking one for the team, but this was especially tone deaf. And I will be highlighting some baffling Kool-Aid that every single one of these ladies have drunk. And Meghan wants a slice of that pie, but I don't think they are keen on letting her in. And as a special gesture for my roguies, I will make sure that clips with Meghan talking will be reduced to a minimum. I'm aware that you are not fond of her voice. You know all those times that I have live streamed BBC content that is only available in the UK? That's only possible thanks to today's video sponsor, Private Internet Access, which is my VPN of choice and I've been using for 2 years now. Because the same way that you lock your door so no strangers can get inside your home, a VPN is an app that secures your internet connection so nobody can access or see your information such as your passwords or your location. The feature that I love the most is the ability to access the complete library of streaming services such as Netflix, no matter what country you're in. If you're in the United States, you can access Netflix UK catalog and vice versa. Private Internet Access is also available in 91 countries and all 50 US states. Now, you know that I've recommended them a few times in all my channels, but now they've got a brand new feature that you're going to love. Now you can use Private Internet Access in an unlimited amount of devices at the same time, just pressing one button. So no matter how many devices you've got at home, your whole family can surf the web protected and safe. With 30 million downloads and more than 8,000 Trustpilot reviews, you can bet Private Internet Access is the best of the best. And using my personal link in the description of this video, you get a special offer of 83% discount. That's just $2 a month, and you also get 4 extra months for free with a 30-day money-back guarantee plus 24/7 customer support. So go get Private Internet Access now. Now, we all experienced the greatest eye roll when we found out that Meghan told her dishwasher soap story again at this panel. But in fact, she did it because Katie Couric asked her about it.
Meghan, will you tell the story about when you wrote that letter to P&G? Because I don't know if everyone's heard it, but it's such a great story at a very young age, what you did.
That's so fun. Yes.
Now, let's be honest. Anyone who even remotely knows who Meghan Markle is has heard this story in some form or another. It has been featured on the Daily Mail. Meghan prominently retold it on her podcast, not to mention in public speeches. So are we supposed to believe that Couric was being serious? That she wasn't trolling Meghan? Now, think about this. Whether if it was trolling or for real, don't you think that it's embarrassing that this is the only story that Meghan really has to tell? Besides that letter that she wrote and supposedly changed a TV ad, there are no other anecdotes from her life that have had a similar impact. Even having the platform that she's got now. So, should Meghan have another anecdote? It would be nice to share it with the public, not only here at South by Southwest, but at any other point in time. Well, who knows if she's going to come up with one for her upcoming flopcast. But let's take a look at one moment in which Brooke Shields reacted to Meghan's word salad with an expression that was less than delighted. But first, I need to mention something that Brooke said, that it's important to understand this reaction. And it's this. My daughters were the ones to tell me, Mom, don't read the comments. In the context of not paying attention to online trolls and haters. That's common sense, right? That's what I have told you so many times. Just close the laptop. Now, it's not only that Shields said this, But she said this right after Meghan was talking about all the bullying and harassing online.
Has quite a bit of hate and rhetoric and incentivizes people to create pages where they can churn out very, very inciting comments and conspiracy theories that can have a tremendously negative effect on someone's mental health, their physical safety.
Yeah, I will be talking about that acting in a minute. But it's interesting that as soon as Meghan stopped talking, this happened.
But even if it's making dollars, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Can I just add one thing to that? Because what you said is also very important. It's so...
Yeah, that was not planned. That was Brooke Shields interrupting the flow of the questions to say something. And what she wanted to say was that her daughters told her, "Mom, don't read the comments." So I found it funny that after Meghan talked about all the online vitriol, Brooke interrupted to say, "Hey, you know what? My daughters have this great idea. What about not reading people's comments?" Shocking, I know. Genius. So just from that detail, I think that Brooke wasn't buying anything that was coming out of Meghan's mouth. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure that she knows that online harassment is a thing, but somehow needed to make this statement as soon as Meghan finished. But then Brooke showed this facial reaction.
That is in the direction of good. You've got to make it fun. So even though all this is weighted, she loves working on a campaign. She loves what happens when you come together and you go, you know what, inch by inch, we're getting closer to seeing a much better place and certainly a better online world.
Yeah, it's impossible to miss Brooke's face. And I live for this kind of moments when people think that they are not being caught on camera since there's another person doing the talking. So, no, Brooke was not amused with Meghan's rhetoric. But let's go back to that moment when Meghan was talking about all that she suffered while she was pregnant with Archie and Lily. And, by the way, she did all this sobbing about said harassment, but didn't she go on a worldwide interview with Oprah to spew a bunch of easily verifiable lies during that time? That doesn't look like someone who wants privacy and stay away from the spotlight. Because this is regardless of how you act. At that level of fame, there are always going to be people on the internet attacking you, and Meghan knows it. So, what's next? Yes, Meghan acting.
And conspiracy theories that can have a tremendously negative effect on someone's mental health, their physical safety.
Yeah, about that pause. Saying that this pause was on purpose is an understatement. Because if Meghan wanted to project an honest reaction while she reminisced those awful days, what she achieved instead was to everyone dismiss her words. And it's such a shame because so many people say that she was great in Suits. But at the same time, I don't know why when she was addressing some topics, especially at the beginning of the panel, she had this really fast blinking that signaled being nervous or distracted. It's odd because in other occasions, such as the Ellen interview or the one she did with Melody Hobson, she wasn't that nervous back then. I think that right now she's extra aware of the odds. This is not 2022 anymore. The clock is ticking and she must make every appearance count. So that would explain the nervousness. That's pretty clear. But body language is also talking about context. And the context here was this huge dissonance of women talking about topics that, when you spend just 3 minutes thinking about it, well, common sense has left the chat. For example, Brooke Shields. I think she was one of the more level-headed of the group. She was talking about the very pressing topic of the sexualization of young women in Hollywood and the media, and that's something that I find very important to address. The problem is that your panel, your audience, and anyone remotely interested in South by Southwest is comprised of mainly liberal women who think that having a risque account to show your attributes to please the male gaze is women empowerment. So you notice the contradiction? It's the right topic, but it's the wrong audience by all means. By the way, need to mention that Brooke started her own podcast named Now What with Brooke Shields 1.5 years ago, and it's the easiest production that you could imagine. A microphone, basic lighting, and you're good to go. And she's got 48 episodes on her belt by this point. Maybe Meghan could learn from this guerrilla approach to podcasting, if she's willing to accept the advice that is. And also, since when Meghan is a New York Times best-selling author? I mean, I completely forgot that The Bench hit that list on its first week of release, but I don't know, maybe she's still proud of it. I wonder if she still keeps all those copies to work as a laptop stand. But now, before I mention Catherine's picture, I want to say something about the tribe that Meghan is trying to be part of. Speaking of which, I forgot to mention Erin Haynes, who, for the most part, I think she did a good job moderating that panel, except for certain parts, such as the moment she asked a question about only 3 of the top 100 grossing films of 2023 had a lead woman actor who was 45 or older. And I think this is mixing the wrong things. If you want to talk about representation in films, in this case women over 45, the fact that a film is top grossing doesn't have anything to do with that. It has to do with people going to watch your movie. And if the script stinks, people are not going to watch it. It's that simple. Proof of that is Madame Web, which I recently reviewed on my Scene Surgeon channel. A group of ladies who are easy on the eyes, but the script was trashed, so it flopped hard. There's also the distinction between making a high-grossing movie and making a good movie, and it usually has little to do one thing with the other. So there must be projects for women 45 years or older being made. The question is, even if the movies are good, are people willing to go to watch them? That is also not guaranteed. My point is that their stance on representation deserves praise, because representation is a good thing. But they are expecting people to flock to the cinemas no matter what. And no, it doesn't work like that. No matter how much you shake your fist at your audience. And I almost forgot to mention that Nancy Wang Yuan, you might remember her from one of Meghan's Arsewives episodes, was also there. But since she has some opinions, such as men are 100% responsible for unwanted pregnancies, I think we can just omit her. That's another dissonance, by the way. You talk about women empowerment, but at the same time claim that women have exactly zero control over unwanted pregnancies. I rest my case. And Catherine finally appeared, and yes, she broke the internet together with their children with a photo taken by William himself. By the time this video was being made, the picture had already gotten 100,000 likes on X and 18 million views. And besides being great to see Catherine again, the picture in itself is lovely, and I know it's going to become a classic for years to come. And yes, some people are going crazy about this picture for 2 reasons. The first one is that Catherine was not wearing her wedding ring, but some people just don't wear it at home, so I don't think this is a cause for concern. The other reason is Charlotte's sweater, more specifically her left sleeve, that appears to vanish into thin air, suggesting that this was Photoshop. Well, I might have an explanation for this. Many mobile phones and digital cameras have an option which is very useful for group photos, in which you can take lots of pictures, like 10 or 20 shots of the same group, and then pick the best expressions, best faces, and then the camera software stitches them on a single photo. The problem with that is in every automated process, this stitching can generate some artifacts, and that must have been what happened in this case. In fact, this artifact actually proves that no Photoshop was used, because if that had been the case, they would have fixed this. But that is what I think. So, my Royal Rogues, I would love to know what do you think about this in the comments. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the Royal Rogue. And remember, much love and bliss.